Good morning, students. Today's topic is neuromuscular junction. The main objective of this study is to make you understand structure of neuromuscular junction, mechanism of neuromuscular transmission, and neuromuscular blockers. So this is the picture showing the transmission of the impulse from the neuron to the muscle. So before going into the topic, I want to discuss some of the fundamental terms. So first one is the motor unit. So motor unit, what is motor unit? Yes, motor unit is nothing but single nerve fiber. It supplies to the number of muscle fibers. A single nerve fiber, it divides into number of branches and supplies to the number of muscle fibers. That is called motor unit. So same thing only written here. The number of fibers innervated by the motor neuron depends on the type of muscle involved. In the case, if the muscles used for the precision movement, few muscle fibers are innervated. If the muscles used for precision movements, such as typing, drawing, okay, so for that, only few muscle fibers are innervated by the motor neuron. So in the case of muscles used for strength, 100 to thousands of fibers are innervated. So now we'll come to the topic. What is neuromuscular junction? It is a connection between the nerve terminal and the muscle fiber. Okay, it is a junction between the nerve terminal and the muscle fiber. That is called neuromuscular junction. So this is the picture showing the neuromuscular junction. This is the nerve terminal and it ends on the muscle fiber. Now we are going to see about the structure of the neuromuscular junction. So in this structure, it is divided into three parts. The structure of the neuromuscular junction discussed under three headings. One is presynaptic portion. This is presynaptic portion, and this one is the synaptic club, and this one is the postsynaptic portion. The structure, it is discussed under the three headings: presynaptic portion, synaptic club, and postsynaptic portion. So presynaptic portion, it consists of axon terminal button, presynaptic membrane. The presynaptic portion consists of axon terminal button, and presynaptic membrane. So this is the axon terminal. Axon terminal, you can see here. Then terminal, this axon terminal and terminal button, and the membrane that covering the presynaptic neuron. It covering the neuron, that is called presynaptic membrane. The membrane that covering the neuron, nerve terminal, that is called presynaptic membrane. So first one is the axon terminal. As the motor neuron approaches the muscle, it loses its myelin sheath and it divides into number of branches. In this picture, you can see as it approaches the muscle fiber, it divides into number of nerve terminals, and each loses its myelin sheath and it divides into number of branches. Each terminal of motor neuron is expanded at its end. So in this picture, you can see each nerve terminal is expanded at its end and form a knobby structure that is called synaptic knob or terminal button. Okay, the nerve terminal, it is expanded at its end and form the knobby-like structure that is called synaptic knob or terminal button. And this presynaptic membrane, the membrane covering the neurons are called presynaptic. Nerve terminal is called presynaptic membrane. The presynaptic membrane, it contains voltage gated calcium channel. Next one is the synaptic cleft. So we discussed about the presynaptic portion. Okay, so presynaptic portion consists of axon terminal, then terminal button, then presynaptic membrane. So axon terminal is nothing but the axons of the presynaptic neuron. When it approaches the muscle fiber, it divides into number of branches, and each branch ended with a knob-like structure, expanded, and it looked like a knob-like structure. So that is called synaptic knob or terminal button. So terminal button contains many mitochondria and acetylcholine vesicles. Okay, and the presynaptic neuron is covered by a membrane that is called presynaptic membrane. The presynaptic membrane contains many voltage gated calcium channels. So next one is the synaptic cleft. So synaptic cleft is nothing but it's a gap between the terminal button and the muscle fiber. So in this picture you can see there is a gap present between the terminal button and the muscle fiber. Okay. So this gap is called synaptic cleft. The depth of the synaptic cleft is 40 to 100 nanometer. It contains basal lamina. Okay, the synaptic cleft contains basal lamina. This basal lamina is made up of collagen, glycoproteins, and extracellular matrix. And the basement membrane also contains acetylcholine esterase that will destruct the acetylcholine, that will remove the acetylcholine. Okay. So here it contains extracellular matrix and basal lamina. The basal lamina is made up of collagen and glycoproteins. And also basement membrane contains acetylcholine esterase. It is an enzyme that will remove the acetylcholine. And the next one is the postsynaptic portion. So postsynaptic portion, it is the thickened muscle part. Okay, it is a thickened part of the muscle where the nerve terminal ends. It is the thickened part on the muscle where the nerve terminal ends. So this postsynaptic membrane, it is thrown into number of folds. Here you can see it is thrown into number of folds called junctional fold or subneural cleft. Since these folds increases the surface area, this fold contains many acetylcholine receptors, and this subneural cleft contains many acetylcholine. I said many acetylcholine receptor it contains. These acetylcholine receptors are voltage gated ligand channels. Okay, ligand gated channels, not voltage gated. It is a ligand gated channels, sodium channels. So the acetylcholine receptors present on the postsynaptic membrane are nicotinic type. In the muscle, the acetylcholine receptors present on the postsynaptic membrane are nicotinic type. It is having the molecular weight of 2,75,000, and 15 to 40 million receptors present at the motor end plate. Motor end plate is nothing but thickened part of the muscle fiber where the nerve terminal ends. It is a ligand gated ion channel. They open when the two molecules of acetylcholine bind to it. Okay, so this acetylcholine, it opens the sodium channels when these acetylcholine receptors are binded with two molecules of acetylcholine. When these receptors bind with two molecules of acetylcholine, it opens. Okay, and permit the sodium and potassium ions. It is more permeable to sodium ion than the potassium efflux. It allows the passage of cations only due to negative charges present in it. The acetylcholine receptors present on the postsynaptic membrane are nicotinic type, and it is having the molecular weight of 2,75,000. 15 to 40 million receptors are present at the motor end plate. These are the ligand-gated ion channels, and they open when the two acetylcholine molecules are bind to it. And this channel, it is permeable to sodium and potassium ions. It permits more sodium ions when compared to potassium efflux. So we discussed about the structure of the neuromuscular junction. Now we are going to discuss about what is the function of the neuromuscular junction? What is the role of this neuromuscular junction? So the main function of the neuromuscular junction is transmission of the impulses from the nerve fiber to muscle fiber. That is called neuromuscular transmission. So the events that is occur during the neuromuscular transmission are first, how the transmission is happening. So that we are going to discuss one by one. First step is release of acetylcholine by the nerve terminal, and second, effect of acetylcholine on the postsynaptic membrane, and third one is the development of end plate potential and action potential, and fourth step is removal of the acetylcholine by the cholinesterase. So this miniature end plate potential is separate. Okay. So the steps in the neuromuscular transmission, mainly 4 steps: release of the acetylcholine by the nerve terminal, and second, the released acetylcholine bind on the postsynaptic membrane, and it causes opening of the sodium channel. That means the effect of acetylcholine on postsynaptic membrane. And third step is development of end plate potential and action potential. And fourth step is the removal of acetylcholine by cholinesterase. So first step, release of the acetylcholine. How the acetylcholine is released from the nerve terminal? I said the terminal button. Terminal button is nothing but the expanded end of the nerve terminal. That is called terminal button or synaptic knob. The terminal button contains many vesicles and mitochondria. The vesicles, it contains acetylcholine. Okay, the vesicles contains acetylcholine. That mitochondria, it provide energy for the synthesis of the acetylcholine. So these acetylcholines are released into the synaptic cleft. So how it is released? First, when the action potential travel along the nerve fiber, in this picture you can see that when the action potential travels along the nerve fiber, it reaches the nerve terminal. Okay. So when it reaches the nerve terminal, it causes depolarization at the presynaptic membrane. It causes the depolarization at the presynaptic membrane. This leads to opening up of the voltage gated calcium channel. So more calcium ions enter from the extracellular fluid into the presynaptic membrane. The extracellular fluid that surrounding the nerve terminal contains calcium ion. That calcium ion enters inside the terminal button. So inside, it causes the fusion of the synaptic vesicles with the presynaptic membrane. So inside what it will do, it causes the fusion of the presynaptic vesicle with the, it causes the fusion of the synaptic vesicles with the presynaptic membrane. So once the vesicle fused with the presynaptic membrane, that fused portion is opened up and releases acetylcholine into the synaptic cleft. So this is the first step. So when the nerve action potential travels along the nerve fiber, it reaches the nerve terminal and causes depolarization. This leads to opening of the voltage gated calcium channel. It allows the entry of calcium ions from extracellular fluid to the presynaptic membrane. Then what will happen? This calcium ion that causes the fusion of the synaptic vesicles with the presynaptic membrane. So once the synaptic vesicle fused with the presynaptic membrane, the fused portion is opened up and releases the acetylcholine into the synaptic cleft. So next, effect of acetylcholine on the postsynaptic membrane. The released acetylcholine, what will do? It will bind on the acetylcholine receptors present on the postsynaptic membrane. The receptors of the acetylcholine gated, the receptors are ligand gated channels. That means it is acetylcholine gated sodium channel. So when two molecules of acetylcholine get attached, there occur conformational changes. This leads to opening up of the sodium channels. So sodium ions from the extracellular fluid enters inside the presynaptic membrane. So once the sodium ion enters inside, so normally inside of the membrane is negative. So once the positive ion enters into the inside, the membrane potential increases in positive direction. This causes depolarization, slight depolarization. Okay. Sodium from the extracellular fluid enters into the cell. It causes the depolarization of the postsynaptic membrane. So this localized depolarization is called local potential. Okay. So the sodium ion, it enters inside the cell. It causes depolarization. It leads to the generation of local potential that is called end plate potential. So it is a only local potential changes. End plate potential is a local potential changes. It is not an action potential. So it is not propagated. This end plate potential is not propagated. So when this end plate potential are summated, it and reaches the threshold level. When this end plate potential are summed up and reaches the threshold level, it produces action potential. The action potential is propagated. So you should know about the miniature end plate potential. So during rest, what will happen? Small quanta of the acetylcholine released that will produce weak end plate potential, that is called miniature end plate potential. So miniature end plate potential is nothing but during rest, some amount of the acetylcholine released that produce weak end plate potential, that is called miniature end plate potential. Removal of, next step is removal of acetylcholine by cholinesterase. Within millisecond, after releasing the acetylcholine, within millisecond, most of the acetylcholine is destroyed by the enzyme acetylcholinesterase in the synaptic cleft. Some of the acetylcholine diffuses back into the presynaptic terminal for resynthesis. Okay, most of the acetylcholine are removed by the acetylcholinesterase and some amount it diffuses back into the presynaptic terminal for the resynthesis. Mechanism of transmission at neuromuscular junction. So we discussed what are the steps involved in the neuromuscular junction. So first one is the release of the acetylcholine from the presynaptic terminal. Then binding of the acetylcholine in the postsynaptic membrane. After that, end plate potential. Then after that, yes, generation of the action potential. Okay, that only given in the flow chart. In this slide, what we have discussed up to this, that only given in the flow chart form. Arrival of the nerve impulses at the presynaptic nerve terminal. Okay, then when it reaches the presynaptic nerve terminal, it causes depolarization of the presynaptic membrane. This leads to opening up of the voltage gated calcium channel. This will allow the entry of calcium from the extracellular fluid into the presynaptic membrane. The calcium that enters inside, it causes the fusion of the synaptic vesicles with the presynaptic membrane. the fused portion is opened up and releases the acetylcholine from the vesicles into the synaptic cleft. The released acetylcholine bind to the acetylcholine receptors present on the postsynaptic membrane. The acetylcholine receptors are the ligand-gated channels, sodium channels. So when two acetylcholine bind with the receptors, it causes opening of the sodium channels and allow the sodium ion to enter inside. This leads to depolarization of the postsynaptic membrane. That means potential changes, local potential changes, that is called end plate potential. This end plate potential is only local potential changes, so it is not propagated. When this end plate potential reaches the threshold level, that produces an action potential. So once the action potential is produced, that is propagated and it leads to the muscle contraction. So these are the pictures showing the neuromuscular transmission. So how the muscle contraction is occur. For example, when you touch the hot object, so what will happen immediately? You will withdraw your finger. That is due to contraction of your muscles. Okay. So how that contraction is happening? So immediately when you touch the nerve fiber that receives the impulses, that means receptors that receives the impulses and sent to the brain. From the brain, the impulses goes to the muscle fiber through the motor neuron. Okay, so this one is the motor neuron. So the impulses, the brain send impulses to the muscle through the motor neuron. So when these impulses travels along the nerve fiber, it reaches the nerve terminal. So where it causes opening of the voltage gated calcium channels. The more calcium ions that enters inside the presynaptic membrane. So once it enters inside, where it causes fusion of the vesicle with the presynaptic membrane. After that, the fused portion is opened up and releases the acetylcholine in the synaptic cleft. So the released acetylcholine, it binds with the acetylcholine receptors. The acetylcholine receptors are ligand-gated channels. So when the acetylcholine binds with the receptors, it causes opening of the sodium channels. The sodium ions enters inside and it produces local potential changes, that is called end plate potential. And when this end plate potential reaches the threshold level, the action potential is produced. That action potential is propagated and finally it leads to the muscle contraction. Okay. So this is the picture showing the how the impulses is transmitted through the T-tubule and then finally it leads to the muscle contraction. So up to this we discussed about the neuromuscular junction and its transmission. So now we are going to discuss about the disorders of neuromuscular transmission. The disorders of the neuromuscular transmission is discussed due to the involvement of, discussed under two headings. That is due to the involvement of presynaptic release of the acetylcholine and breakdown of acetylcholine within the synapse and postsynaptic receptors. Okay. The presynaptic release of acetylcholine, the involvement of presynaptic release of acetylcholine seen in botulism, Lambert-Eaton syndrome or Eaton-Lambert syndrome. Anyways, you can tell. Okay. Breakdown of acetylcholine within the synapse and postsynaptic receptors, that is myasthenia gravis. So botulism, it is a condition which develops when the toxin produced by the Clostridium botulinum spores are irreversibly binds to the specific receptors on the postsynaptic terminal of the cholinergic nerve ending. So this leads to impaired release of the acetylcholine from the presynaptic nerve terminal. So due to decreased release of acetylcholine, the muscle contraction is not takes place. The symptoms of botulism are severe weakness, difficulty in swallowing, mydriasis, dry mouth, constipation, urinary retention, and tachycardia. So next condition is Lambert-Eaton syndrome or Eaton-Lambert syndrome. It is an autoimmune disease. The antibodies are produced against the calcium receptors. So in this condition, the autoantibodies are produced against the calcium receptors, so that due to non-availability of calcium, the acetylcholine vesicles are not fused with the presynaptic membrane. So this leads to impaired release of the acetylcholine from the nerve terminal. So due to decreased release of or absence of release of the acetylcholine, muscle contraction will not take place. This leads to weakness. Usually affecting the limbs and sparing ocular and bulbar muscles. Okay, it affects the limbs and sparingly ocular and bulbar muscles. Okay, it occurs most commonly in man with the intrathoracic tumor. So the symptoms of the Eaton-Lambert syndrome are fatigability, weakness, pain in the proximal limb muscles, peripheral paresthesias, dry mouth, erectile dysfunctions, and ptosis. Deep tendon reflexes are reduced or lost. So next topic is drugs acting at the neuromuscular junction. There are two types of drugs that are acting at the neuromuscular junction. One is drugs that blocks the transmission, and second one is the drugs that stimulate the transmission. So drugs that block the transmission are called neuromuscular blockers. Drugs that stimulate the transmission are called anticholinesterases. So first we are going to discuss about the drugs that blocks the transmission, neuromuscular blockers. There are two types. One is non-depolarizing blockers and depolarizing blockers. Okay. So there are two types of blockers, non-depolarizing agents and depolarizing agents. The non-depolarizing agents are botulinum toxin, alpha-bungarotoxin. So botulinum toxin is nothing but it is a bacterial toxin which inhibits the synthesis or release of the acetylcholine. This leads to paralysis of the muscle. And the alpha-bungarotoxin, it found in the venom of deadly snake. So these bungarotoxins combined with the receptors irreversibly and causes the paralysis of. So next one is the tubacurin and galamine. This is also non-depolarizing blocker. This combines with the receptors reversibly and causes the paralysis, muscle weakness. So next one is the depolarizing blockers. The depolarizing blockers are succinylcholine and decamethonium. These block the transmission by persistent depolarization. And next one is the drugs that stimulate the transmission, anticholinesterases. The drugs that stimulate the transmission are neostigmine, physostigmine, diisopropyl fluorophosphate, tetraethyl pyrophosphate. The action of the neostigmine and the physostigmine are temporary and irreversible, but the action of the diisopropyl fluorophosphate and the tetraethyl pyrophosphate are permanent. So these agents inactivate the acetylcholine esterase in the irreversible or irreversible manner, and it leads to fatal condition. So next important one, myasthenia gravis. Myo means muscle, asthenia means weakness. So myasthenia gravis is an autoimmune autoimmune disease. In this condition, autoantibodies are produced against acetylcholine receptors. It is characterized by the rapid fatigue with marked and generalized weakness of the muscle. Most commonly affected muscles are extraocular muscles and facial muscles, muscles of swallowing, mastication, and respiratory muscles. In severe cases, patient will be bedridden and can die of respiratory muscles and paralysis. Sign and symptoms of myasthenia gravis: weakness in the arms, hands, fingers, legs and neck, impaired speech, shortness of breath, difficulty in swallowing, change in facial expression, unstable gait, blurry or double vision, drooping of eyelid, eye muscle weakness. The treatment for the myasthenia gravis is by using the drug neuromuscular stimulant called neostigmine, and other drugs are corticosteroids and immunosuppressants. Thank you.